Hey guys, and welcome back. As you can tell from the title of this video, I'm talking about jock straps today. This is going to be my review of the Singing Rock Flake harness. I just picked this guy up about a month ago, and I've been using it on all my non-technical mountains I've been climbing recently, which since it's early season, you kind of tend to stay on the non-technical stuff while the technical stuff melts out and whatever. So I've been using this quite a bit now, and I'm going to compare it to the harness that I've been using for the past couple of years for mountaineering and stuff. This is the Black Diamond Couar harness, the newer model. You can still get this on their website. And I'm going to talk about the pros and cons. I had a number of gripes with this harness to begin with, and they are solved with the Singing Rock harness, which is actually pretty nice. First thing I'm going to say is the Singing Rock harness isn't super expensive. It's about 50 bucks depending on where you get it from. I picked mine up off of Amazon because I sort of threw it in a cart with other stuff I'm getting. Whereas the Couar harness will run you like somewhere, I think about 60 bucks or so. It's not that big of a expense difference between the two. Going back, let's talk about sort of the baseline harness first. We have a waist belt right here with 2 gear loops, very minimal. You have 2 ice clipper slots right here for your ice screws, as well as a little leg hook, so that way you can slot your screw into there to keep it from bouncing around. And then your usual diaper step-in thing, and this harness does have a belay loop. So what I'm looking for in a mountaineering harness is a belay loop for sure. At least 2 gear slings to hold all the jangly bits on, and then easy on and off. And so this Couar harness had, I'd say, 1.5 of those qualities. It does have gear loops like I have here. They are kind of annoying to use because they tend to flop around a little bit, and you can kind of get them lost in your jacket when you're clipping gear on and off. It's not a deal breaker, but it definitely does take a little bit of getting used to, so it's worth practicing with this harness before bringing it out there. The biggest break on this harness for me is the usability. You can see how we got really small buckles right here for your leg loops. Kind of hard to unclip with gloves. It's not too bad to clip it because you just have to sort of find it and snap it in. But with gloves, it's actually pretty hard to undo that little buckle. And then here's the big deal breaker for me on this one, is the buckling system. And it's not just me, it's other people who really don't like this thing. You pass the tab through too. This buckle on the outside right here is really difficult to separate from this buckle, especially when it's 1 a.m. in the morning and it's cold and you have gloves on. It's really hard to separate that and then pass this back through. And then it's also really stiff to adjust. We do have ice clippers, which is nice, and then a place to slot your ice screw in the leg. And so that's not too bad. I mean, that's where my little half score comes in. It does have a belay loop, which I think is pretty critical nowadays. So I've been using it for a long time. It was the first mountaineering harness I've ever got, and so it worked for what it is. But if you're in the market for a new mountaineering harness or just looking for your first one, it's definitely worth considering the Singing Rock Flake harness. So going back to my 3 points, has to have a belay loop. That's an easy one. Has a belay loop. Has to have at least 2 gear loops, and that's exactly what we have here, 2 gear loops. There is no ice clipper slots on this belt, or like a slot to put an ice clipper on, and that's fine because you're only carrying 1 or 2 ice screws with you max, sometimes 3 I guess. And so I just clip those with a carabiner onto my gear loops. I don't really care about that. If that's a deal breaker for you, then you might want to deal with that or find a different harness. It does have a bit of a wider belt right here. It's still super thin. Mountaineering harnesses rely on your clothing to add padding rather than padding on the harness. It's one way how they shave weight. And then ease of putting on. So what do we have here? We have a really thick clip or a buckle or whatever. And so this is really easy to put on with and take off with gloves on. So that's pretty great. The buckle itself is a little bit less stiff as well. The Black Diamond buckle is a little bit, I don't know if stiffer is the right term, but just right here, it takes less pressure to pop this thing out. And then let's talk about the waist. So this is the big improvement right here. We have 2 buckles like before, standard 2-buckle harness, but you can see if I hold it just right, this buckle has an open side to it, and then our other buckle right here is just your standard closed one. So you pass this through the very wide one, you fold the other buckle over, and you can pull it somewhat tight around your body and slip, you can see it, and then you slip this little webbing piece into the other buckle, so you don't have to pass your tab through 2 buckles. And then same as before, you put that first strand back through the first clip right there. For the adjustment, quite easy to tighten it up. To loosen it, very easy to loosen it. That's a pretty great feature right there. I've been using this harness now for quite a bit of trips in quite a bit of conditions, and I've been putting it on with gloves, taking it off with gloves. I've been doing this, doing that, clipping stuff to the gear loops, unclipping it, just using it like you normally would for all my laps up Baker I've been taking recently. And I gotta say, this is a really great harness. I have friends who use this on Denali expeditions and other stuff like that. You can buy these off of a number of different websites. I think it'll run you about 50 bucks or so. It's not super expensive. If you compare it to the Couar I think is around $60 off of Black Diamond's website, and you can probably get off of like Moose Jaw or some other, some other website for cheaper than that. One thing that some people, the fad that's going around about lightweight, so I looked it up, and if I remember right, this is like 120 grams, and this is like 160 grams. So you do lose some weight, even though it's not really that much. It's like 40 to 60 grams is as much as you lose, depending on how close I was with those numbers. But that does bring up another good talking point of ease of use versus weight. So lightweight isn't everything, especially in mountaineering and well, anything other than through hiking. So through hiking is where the light is right mantra is really actually kind of useful, because you're using your material in usually the best conditions that you can, and so it doesn't have to go through too much performance thresholds. We're using this equipment at like the worst times of the day, and so having a more lightweight harness may help you out when you're hiking up with it, but it's not everything. Actually, in mountaineering, it's better to have more heavy-duty, heavier items because you want that protection. And so since this is a matter of ease of use over lightweight, it's really not adding that much to your pack anyway, so it's like it's worth it to have a harness that's easier to use. And I would argue that this is probably more comfortable to hang on for a while when you're in a crevasse. Even though it's heavier and more bulky, I think that the pros that this provides greatly outweighs the cons. So go out there and get yourself a Singing Rock Flake harness and enjoy comfort while you're hiking up your hill. Now, while I'm using the Flake harness for mountaineering, I may still break out the Couar if I'm doing like ski mountaineering or something like that, where you're spending a lot more time on skis, and maybe just doing a rappel or two with your rope. And I want, like, for 98% of the time this harness is going to be in my backpack, I'll use the Couar and then just put it on for a few choice times during the day. But if I'm putting on my harness at the start of camp and hiking up to the summit and getting back like 10 hours later, then I'm going to go for more of the Flake harness. Or if I'm doing a bigger expedition that's non-technical, like the West Buttress of Denali, I'm going to go for a harness that's easier to work with. If I'm using fatter gloves, like on Rainier or something, that's also a good idea to bring a harness that's easier to work with. And so I'm not completely done with the Couar, but the Flake has pretty much replaced 90% of my use for the Couar. Thanks for watching my review. I know this one was kind of fast. I didn't have too much to say about it. I more or less just wanted to get this out there so more people had the idea of the harness. Some of you guys may be wondering, like, why is it important that I like to have a belay loop? And it's just more for the amount of options that you get. So that way I can easily clip myself into the rope with my 1 triple action locker or my 2 carabiners, and then I don't have to go through the two top and bottom points. Having a belay loop also aids me a lot in crevasse rescue, especially more advanced systems of crevasse rescue. So that's why I want a belay loop. For some of you guys out there, they may like the Black Diamond Bod or something like that, or that new Petzl harness that doesn't have a belay loop. I forget the name of it, but that's my preference. It's also a lot of other people's preference, so that's why I had the belay loop in that list. So there we have it. That's my second harness review. I promise I will take a break from harnesses now. Just wanted to sort of do a few reviews. Like I said in my last video, I'm really busy right now, and so I want to keep making videos for you guys, but I just don't have a whole lot of time to do like an instructional one, which actually does take a fair amount of time. And so by doing these reviews, they really help me keep the videos coming out with being able to do it myself and not need another person around. So thanks for your patience. Bear with me. I'll get some like cool videos out there, either rescue techniques or rope techniques, or maybe even some adventure videos. Let me know if you guys want to see anything. You can just leave a comment. I read all the comments that I get. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Getting to go. Yeah, they don't like flying too much. It's like peekaboo.